out perfectly for me because I just got home.
Yeah.
And we're live. Hello, folks, and welcome back.
Good evening.
We have on the panel tonight, we've got Andy, we've got Weggy, and we've got Tim. Say hello, Andy.
Hello.
Hello, Andy.
Hello, Weggy. Hello, Carl.
Hello, Tim. Hello, Carl.
Hello, Tim.
Hello, punters.
Hello, everybody. So, have we actually got anything to talk about tonight? And I know we've got the thing happening. What's happening tomorrow night?
Yeah.
If it goes ahead, because it might be a tad breezy. Andy was saying.
Well, it's not looking too great, to be honest with you, mate. I mean, we're due. Here we go. I've just got to quickly say hello. We've all got to say hello to the twins because
hello, twins, and hello, Gordon.
Yeah, they've been waiting, and of course we've been dragging the heels. God knows what you haven't, Carl. Carl was up and running at 10 to 9, but I mean, we've only just joined. Hello, girls. And of course, we have the girls. It's the twins, and of course we got Gordon, GB's Model Zone. Good evening, mate.
Hello, mate.
I don't know how many people we're getting in today. It's great to have Tim from the States join us again.
Happy to be here.
Fantastic, mate. Sorry, it's a bit of a slow start, but it's just one of those evenings. Or not for you. I would have thought it's afternoon time for you, too.
Yes, it's the middle of the afternoon. It's 3:22 p.m. daylight time.
Lovely. Well, I hope your weather over there is far better than what we're over here at the moment, to be fair.
It's we've had some severe weather the past few days, and thankfully my part of town, if you will, has dodged the really bad stuff, the hail and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's really nice today. There's not a cloud in the sky. The temperature is let me see if I can do a very, very quick centigrade conversion here. 90 Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. That's temperature-wise over here at the moment. That's not that sad, to be honest with you, Tim. It's just the amount of rain we're having, and the weather's taking a turn for the worse, unfortunately, this weekend because the winds are picking up and the ports are going to close overnight and then into tomorrow. And it's just so happens that it's the first, as Carl was saying, it's the first bike night that we managed to sort of get together for the Orwell Crossing. So fingers crossed, we'll still get a few turn up. But of course, when it gets too windy, I mean, rain's one thing, but when it gets windy and it's raining, that's another story.
Yeah, that results in misery pretty quickly. I found that out on my April motorcycle trip that we did down to the Texas Hill Country. It was just windy and wet and miserable the whole time. But today it's by the way, it's 33 degrees.
Really?
Centigrade. 33 degrees.
We'll have some of that. I think we'll have some of that, Andy and Carl.
Very nice.
It's pretty much twice what we're getting.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, that tells me it's about 50 degrees, 45, 50 degrees Fahrenheit there.
Around about that.
Yeah.
I'm getting better and better at that. Americans we get a really bad rap for not understanding the metric system, but we use it a lot just for certain things.
Yeah.
We use a combination of the two all the time, but temperature is one of the ones we don't use it for. So
we use a lot of imperial measurements as well. We still quite often use feet and inch. We still use miles.
Yeah.
And we buy our pints and pints.
We have. Well, I tend to find that it's old school over here. I mean, of course, we use miles rather than kilometers. We sort of get messed up with kilometers. And obviously, when you import motorcycles coming from places like the States and whatever, of course they come in with kilometers. So we have a little plastic converter you stick over the top of the old analog clock. Right? So obviously we're that daft and possibly we're that lazy, but it's just the fact that we work. Obviously, we work in miles rather than sort of kilometers. But and same as temperature. I mean, we always work in Celsius rather than Fahrenheit. Be fair, but I think over the years we've got more we've sussed it out a little bit better when it comes to the Fahrenheit sort of thing, you know.
Well, I remember when we first got taught it in school, it wasn't called Celsius, it was called centigrade.
So, well, centigrade, yeah. I mean, so,
Yeah.
Right. You will still hear it called centigrade over here quite a bit, at least in Texas.
Yeah.
And we use it for certain things. In the brewing industry, we use the metric system in centigrade all the time. We use bar instead of PSI. We use grams and kilos instead of ounces and pounds. So I'm very well versed at at both, depending on what I'm doing. But the centigrade to Fahrenheit conversion off the top of my head is one I still struggle with.
Yeah. I suppose it's like, we always get talking about sort of bikes and bits in a minute, but I suppose it's like when you hop on a set of human scales, we still work in stones rather than kilos, So that's all that old school stuff, I suppose. You're a certain age, and I suppose I'd say that. I mean, I'm thinking of my kids. I mean, my daughter's 21 and my boy's 23, but I'm not what they work in, to be fair. Oh, I know, obviously, they work in miles when it comes to distance. But when it comes to weight, I think they're more astute with kilos rather than pounds and God knows what,
Right.
There you go. That's an age thing, Tim.
Yeah,
it is.
So anyway, Carl was just mentioning, of course, this Friday was going to be, it's not cancelled. I've spoken to Trev. We went up to see, myself and Stitch went up to see Trev last night at the Orwell Crossing. Everything was good. And of course, we've been speaking about the weather, and so have a lot of other people, because the support on this has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, to be honest, had the weather it looked, as good as it was, say, for instance, a few weeks ago at Stonham with a few more degrees in our favour, you're possibly looking at 200, 250 bikes up there, But of course, I've spoken to him again tonight, and obviously one of the guys with various other groups. And, it is what it is. I mean, if it's going to be seriously windy and wet, there'll be a few that might turn up, and there might be a few that come in cars, and there's no point in cancelling it, because we can still get together, regardless of what transport you turn up and still have a chat. And as I said to Trevor, I said another 10 people or 20 people in your 20 potential customers at the end of the day. So I'll put it down to we just put it down to the weather, mate. And obviously we'll get another one up and running as soon as possible, which will be a week or 2 weeks time. So, but it's definitely not cancelled. The bike night at the Orwell Crossing is still definitely going ahead. And, we can only hope for the best, mate. It might be sunny and the wind's gone and the rain's gone and all that sort of stuff, but don't hedge your bets.
Yeah. You might only get people coming from the proper side of the Orwell Bridge, mate.
Well, we'll see, mate. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's one of these things. When you have these events, I mean, a bike night is a bike night. It hasn't really cost anything, and of course, people get excited for it because it doesn't cost them any money. I mean, all you're forking out for is your refreshments when you get there. I mean, it's got a barbecue. You're gonna have live bands, fairly soon, and he's gonna do sort of pipe music outside in the background, beers and that sort of stuff. So really, it doesn't cost anything. It's the big events where you've obviously got the motor shows, like the bike shows and the car shows, where there's a lot of time and effort put in from year to year for this one big event. And as much as that's for charity, you can of course it still costs people money to hire things, So they're the people who get hit. The people who run the things like the Cop Doc Bike Show and the MCN Bike Show and the various other shows all around the country that require a nice, dry, sunny day, if you like, But it is what it is, isn't it? And of course,
can't control the weather.
You cannot, mate. Even Michael Fish failed.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no storms tonight. Half the woods down south got blown over.
Yeah. Britain got its first bloody hurricane.
Yeah, I know. That just literally came out of the blue. In 1987, Tim, we had the worst weather ever in this country. and it literally just came and ripped everything to pieces, mate, overnight.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a hurricane.
Which obviously, considering what the sort of weather you can get in the States and that in various, different states, obviously, there's probably nothing in compare. But over in the UK, to have literally the whole country wiped out with trees, power lines, roofs ripped off, finding your shed over sort of 3 doors down the road, that sort of thing, and your greenhouse is sort of half a mile down the road in somebody else's garden.
Well, it's very unusual for a hurricane to stay that strong into the North Atlantic, so I'm sure it's something you don't have to deal with very often. Usually, the hurricanes out of the Atlantic here in the States do their worst damage on the southern Atlantic coast and in the Gulf of Mexico historically. Usually by the time they make it up to New York and Maine and New England and all of that up there, which is thousands of miles away from where I live, obviously, it's lost a lot of its energy. Although every once in a while you will get a really bad one. It'll form right off the Cape of Africa and it heads straight across to the northeast, and that's where you'll have those rare, really, really bad hurricanes.
Yeah. But it's what it is. What's it Gordon saying here? Greenhouse wasn't any grass left on it. No, I mean, it's funny really because I had my motorcycle sitting outside on that particular night in '87, and. I'm not kidding you, right? It sat outside near the garage, and there was roof tiles embedded in the garage door, right, and around the framework, and not one tile off a roof that hit my bike. I was fairly chuffed. I expected. I didn't know what to expect actually that morning, But it is what it is, Tim. We seem to be getting more storms, of late. The weather's obviously. I mean, somebody mentioned global warming, and all that sort of stuff. But all right. Excuse me a second. Excuse me. Just mute me, Carl, will you? Hello. You all right?
Where's the mute button?
Uh-oh.
Right.
Okay. There it is.
There you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was actually working that night. God, because I work in telecoms, and there's so many. Some of the towers are actually blown down and whatever for the shortwave radio and not the shortwave, the microwaves and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
God, it was. I was glad for the shift to finish.
That's a constant problem we have here, especially in the amateur radio community, is that. You will have towers go down and you will lose antennas in the springtime and throughout the big weather season, which we are moving into now. This is when we get our giant hailstorms and our tornadoes and all of that really bad stuff that nobody wants. It's a constant. Have two friends that work in telecom. One works in works with cell towers and works in the microwave bands like you're talking about. And then another guy's he has his own company and he does a variety of different antenna and tower work, including HF. And so we employ him or beg him to work for free to fix a lot of the ham radio towers when we have a bad windstorm. Yeah. We still have two down right now from the last one that we're trying to get back up. So it just takes a little time when you have those, those West Texas windstorms and dust devils and all of the weird stuff we have to deal with out here.
Yeah. That's funny because, Andy's got some feedback again. He's getting some feedback, Andy.
It's gone now.
It's gone now.
Yeah, it's gone now. Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, that's funny because,
it's gone again.
We go to... I used to go over to the Canary Islands, and they have some fancy. Well, that's quite notorious. Actually, they have the massive sandstorms come over from the Sahara Desert in Africa, and literally, the skies are completely orange. And everything gets trashed with sand and dust and everything. And you get a couple of 3 days of that. So it's, you'd imagine, you're still looking forward to your holiday there, and you spend 3 days, you barely see anything in front of you.
No,
Right?
We quite often affects our weather as well because it actually starts seeding the clouds. So you get
Right.
sandy rain, you get big sand blobs all over your car and stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't mind them on the car, but it's when you leave your bike out and you come out, right? And you see
that's the worst.
Pitted, mate, And of course, being a motorcycle, and as you know, Carl and Tim, that stuff gets everywhere. It gets inside all the nooks and crannies and everything. It's just a nightmare to get out, the weather's very strange, mate, to be honest. I mean, this time last year, Tim, and Carl will remember this time last year, when just after we'd gone into this sort of lockdown, the weather was fantastic.
Was gorgeous.
The weather was absolutely fantastic, and yet nobody could go out anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame that, the season's now starting to open up as such. With, obviously come June the 21st, all restrictions are lifted. Fingers crossed. Don't seem to be any problems with that at the moment. They've said about this new Indian mutation of the coronavirus, the COVID-19, but they're saying now that the injections, the jabs, the inoculations are working against that. So I can't foresee any problems with it now. As soon as June the 21st comes about, I think it's going to be a good thing. But at least we can expect is some sunshine with it.
Hopefully,
certainly good luck with that.
What have we got here anyway?
Is it like that sandstorm?
Yeah, I was just going to show you what a West Texas sandstorm looks like, since we were talking about sandstorms.
Yeah.
I've got this thing all messed up. I guess that probably works best right there. Yeah. But that's kind of what one looks like as it's blowing in. And this was this was actually, these come in the springtime and in the fall. This one was in the springtime. And you can kind of see right there, it's a beautiful blue sky day over there, and here it comes. Jeez. And then once it arrives, your fun is over.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've just say a quick hello to Tasha and the crew. Hello, Tash. Good to see you.
Yeah. The thing is, with something like that, you don't want to be riding your bike or vehicles in it if you can.
No, you don't.
It's going to trash your filters, isn't it?
Right.
So, how bad is it? I mean, say for instance, of course, over there, most of your houses, obviously, if not all, are air conditioned, Tim, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, have to be, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So I'm running mine right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, mate, because obviously with that sort of temperature, but then when you get these sandstorms coming, right? Mm-hmm. What sort of damage does that do? I mean, bearing in mind that you're talking on a big scale there, aren't you?
It depends. One of the things that a sandstorm can do damage-wise is obviously to a vehicle. You instantly, if you're driving right through a sandstorm for a long period of time, your cabin air filter, your your engine air filter, all of that stuff is going to get filled up with sand. It plays hell with electronics. So you have to be careful with your electronics and that sort of thing. And it's a constant fight, keeping the dust out of everything certain times of the year. Well, all of the year. But during the windy season, it's a constant fight keeping the dirt out of things, keeping dirt inside the house, constantly dusting. You have to dust every day. You have to clean your computers and all of that stuff. So it's just something I guess you get used to it. But you can't ignore it, or you'll be covered in dust in no time.
No, exactly. No, I would imagine, mate. I mean, it's I was just sort of saying, obviously, when you get the sandstorms blow from the Sahara over here, obviously, you get all the pits on your cars and all outside, the windows and everything else. So I would imagine on a far bigger scale, it actually coming into the house and being an absolute nightmare at some point, But like you say, it's something you've obviously lived all your life, so that's obviously part of your life is what you do, isn't it?
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
desert life, mate.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But anyway, bike-wise, I mean, I don't suppose many have been doing much. I mean, I know obviously Andy's just released another video. I've just seen it previewed, which is the one you did down Felixstowe, Andy. Yeah.
Bordsey, yeah.
Bordsey. Well, yeah, Bordsey.
Felixstowe, isn't it? Because Felixstowe's across the water. It's old Felixstowe, isn't it?
Yeah. So I will give it a look later, Andy. So the first time I've seen it, because obviously we're working there, I don't get a chance to catch up there. In fact, on YouTube, are saying 425 videos that I've not seen. This, whatever. I've just not seen them. It's just reminded me they're all there for me to see of my leisure. 425 of them. And I know Carl. I heard, obviously, you're talking to Chris today because Chris is advertising his GoPro cameras.
Yeah, I was thinking about buying one.
And you're asking about the external mics on them. They GoPros are sort of completely different to your standard sort of 3.5 jacks, aren't they?
Yeah.
Tend
to be a USB thing that you have to buy from GoPro themselves for about 45 quid or something.
Yeah.
50 quid, mate. 50
Yeah.
I bought one 2 months back at 50 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get round it either.
No. Sorry, Andy, Tash has just asked, and I know obviously here she comes.
Just
jump. Yeah, and to be honest, have you got any more Suffolk Spooks videos coming up, mate? She's just asked.
No. because
to the point.
Yeah, no. Because of all the work I was doing, I've sort of I think I fell out with my boss. Or what's happening is he's starting another business.
Right.
He's handed over the business to somebody else to run.
Right.
And I won't play their game. So I think I'm just being starved out now. I ain't had nothing this week at all.
Really?
I think I'm being starved out now. I don't bother because I retire in September anyway, don't I?
Yeah, a little bit behind Stan here. So that Stan's going to carry on working. So
yeah. No, but going back, it's been something that I can't talk about on here. Nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
We've had another problem here that I can't talk about.
No, that's all right, mate. No worries. No worries. No, it's just simple. Just a simple request to see whether you've got any Spooks videos coming up.
Well, hopefully we've got 2 or 3 sites we're going to go to. I've looked at 3 or 4 over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's just getting Amy, the little maggot, out and getting stuff done,
Yeah, I know, mate. Right, anyway, gentlemen, I'll be back in a second. All right. I'm not disappearing. I'll come back, but I'll just go just speak to Sam for a bit. All right.
Okay. Yes.
Show you guys one last bit of West Texas sandstorm photography. I did not take either of these photographs, but these are really these are representative of what it's like when when one is blowing in, and you kind of need to brace yourself. And then this is another one. This one was taken from an airliner of one blowing into West Texas. This one became sort of a viral photo across social media in my part of the country. So yeah, there you go.
It's spectacular to look at, but you wouldn't want to be in it.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Looks like something out of a horror film, really, like the mist, doesn't it? The mist
gets in your nose when you get stuck in it. It gets in your teeth, and you grit down on your teeth, and you there's the crunch of sand, and not fun at all.
Yeah, I've been a few sandstorms. I've spent some time in Egypt. Not fun.
No, I've never been in a sandstorm. Want it over.
You are lucky in that regard. Fortunate in that regard. We are right now on the cusp of the heat really coming on. So, 85 degrees or 33 degrees here today. Before another month passes, we'll be regularly around 40 degrees or above centigrade.
Yeah, I mean, if we get anything near that, it's just exceptional weather. Exceptional.
So your rainy season in the UK is
all year.
Is all year basically, right?
Yeah.
You're always dealing with it, I guess. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Okay.
Ryan.
Yeah, it rains all through the year. Now you might get about 2 or 3 weeks in the summer where you don't get any rain, but then then suddenly a storm will come over. It'll be a thunderstorm, and it'll lash it down.
Wow. Okay, so Southern England, Ipswich, seaside, whatever, or even down in the south part near Dover and all of that. How many centimeters of rain could someone expect if they lived in that area? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, no.
Okay, I'm curious. I want to look up average rainfall UK.
Well, it's all
Probably
where you are.
more than you get.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's all according where you live in the UK,
Oh
like
my
East Anglia.
gosh. Okay,
Yeah,
so it says here annual amount of precipitation is an average of blah 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 blah. Annual precipitation for the entire UK. You guys get rain 133 days a year, rain or snow, totaling, oh my gosh, 33.7 inches or 885 millimeters. So 88 centimeters a year.
Yeah. We've got good drainage.
Yeah. Wow. So you guys get 33.7 inches compared to West Texas, which is about 7 inches a year. 33 versus 7. Let's see. Well, let me make sure I've got that.
Yeah, that's why we have to ride in the rain, or we'd never ride at all.
Yeah, that's why we're so
Yeah.
good in. That's why we ride bikes so well in the rain, mate. We're used to it. If we ever had a race against somebody from Texas, we'd probably whip our asses in a wet race. We're used to it. Dry race, they'd probably rip our asses, but in a wet one, we're there, mate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I also see why I belong to several groups on Facebook. One is a bandit owners group that Weggy is also a part of. We're both members of that. I have one that's for ZRX 1200 owners, and a lot of those members are in the UK. And you can see bikes, the stark difference between bikes that spend their lifetimes in the rain versus ones that spend their lifetimes in the desert. We don't have to deal with corrosion really at all. To get a bike
have to deal with paint fading and chips.
Right. Exactly right. Paint fade is one of the main things.
Yeah.
Because if you leave your bike out in the sun constantly during the hot summers, springs and summers, you're definitely going to get paint fade. But rust, I mean, you really have to try to make a motorcycle rust out here. You have to intentionally leave it in the rain and then not clean it up. So
that's why, Tim, a lot of bikes are imported from sort of your part of the world and other part, dry parts of America. They actually import them back over here,
right?
Because I bought a Virago 750 from Arizona and got it shifted over to here, and that was virtually perfect for an old bike. There was not a touch of rust on that bike anywhere. And that was because of the dry.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know a friend. In fact, I've done a video on his motorcycle collection. It's one of my more popular videos. He sold a whole bunch of Suzuki GS stuff, and it all went to England. And it was a lot. It was a dozen bikes, some engines, body work, wiring looms, etc. And he said, "Oh yeah, they want this stuff big time in the UK and in Western Europe in general."
Yeah.
Because it's by their standards for a 40-year-old motorcycle, it's essentially brand new in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Virago I had was virtually perfect when I got it. Yeah. Yeah. I think the only thing I had to change on it was the two tires. The tires have got a little bit sort of past the sell-by date.
Right. Well, and they will dry rot. Tires will dry rot out here for sure.
Yeah.
Once your tires age out in the desert, you definitely want, even if they look great, you want to change them because that's just the way it is. The heat and the low humidity in particular is very, very hard on tires. So how much did it cost you, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, to have a bike shipped from the central United States to the UK?
I bought the whole thing for $1,400, I think.
Okay. So 1,000 of that had to be shipping.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like offered it and I bought it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got it for 1,400, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you one of the age over here, that sort of in that condition,
Mhm.
you'd probably look about 2 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually worth doing if you can find one from a dry country, because the bikes last so long. The actual resale value is nowhere near as much as it is over here for one in good condition.
Okay. So
You'll
it
be
makes sense.
Yeah. You'll be surprised how much stuff is shipped over from the dry parts. Yeah, I know, not just bikes, because there's a big thing over here for American cars, isn't they, Carl?
Well, it's not just American car. It's even. I know folk that actually import cars over from. Where is it? It's north. Yeah, they bring cars over from Egypt and Saudi Arabia and stuff like that.
Huh.
And Japan as well. The thing with Japan is they've got regulations that vehicles over a certain age can't go on the roads. So what they do is they just ship them off to Western Europe.
Interesting. Well, there's a huge market for Japanese cars, Japanese spec cars, especially among the hot rodders in particular.
Yeah, they tend to have a bit more power about them.
Mm-hmm. And they are rare. The rarity factor is also a big deal. So there are certain Nissans. There are certain older Datsuns.
What Toyotas as well, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. Yeah, the Fair Ladies and all of those. Some of the Z cars, that sort of thing. There's a huge market.
Fairline, isn't it?
Do what?
Isn't it Fairline, not Fair Lady?
Fairlane is the Ford, but
right, okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what the Fair Lady is.
I never heard of it.
It is okay. Yeah, Datsun Z cars. The Nissan versions are called the Fair Lady, and you cannot get them in the U.S.
Oh, right.
So there's a certain Nissan Z that's called the Fair Lady Z, and they're unobtainium in America. So if you've got one anywhere in the U.S., you have an extremely rare car.
Oh, yeah.
And the rarity makes it valuable as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Tim, what's going on, mate, with your petrol prices? You seem to be doubling up or something.
With my what process?
Your petrol, your gas. It seems to be going sky high in America.
Yeah, it's going up.
You live in Texas. You should have loads of it.
Right. And that's what's frustrating about it is most of the fuel that goes in my fuel tanks, and probably some of the fuel that goes in your fuel tanks, is produced about 30 miles from here, from where I'm sitting. But these things all become political, and it's the most taxed commodity in the United States, even though it can be reasonably priced in some areas. Okay, so for example, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I was paying $1.10, $1.15 to $1.50 per gallon, and I won't do but
also we paid that. Well, I think what's ours? It's about 120, 125 for a litre.
A litre. Yeah, a litre.
Right. So now with all of the upheaval and the politics, I'm paying $2.70 per gallon. Now, that's a huge increase, but at least we're not paying what Californians are paying. Californians are paying between $4 and $5 per gallon. It's just because that state is so screwed up.
Oh yeah,
So things aren't going to get any better for California until California's economy essentially collapses, which may be what happens, and they have to reorganize it. That's probably only going to get worse out there on the West Coast. I love going out there every summer to ride motorcycles, and it's a beautiful place, and I love the people. But quite honestly, I'm glad California is over 1,000 miles away from where I live, because of all of that, because of all of the overregulation and overtaxation out there. Although lots of Californians over the past 10 years, especially more especially during the last 5 years, Californians are moving in droves to Texas, and that's having positive and negative effects on us. But I don't want to become.
You don't want them to bring a sort of views to Texas,
Right.
do you?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And
I mean,
then-
they move here. And they
Yeah.
move here, and once they've lived here for 6 months, they get a vote. And if they vote the same nonsense that destroyed their state over time, eventually they'll destroy Texas' economy as well.
They'll have to move again then, won't they?
Yeah, there's nowhere else to go.
Well, Florida probably.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully there will be some backlash, and we'll see Californians and in some of those really oppressive states start to vote out their bad leaders and vote themselves a little bit more freedom and a little bit more autonomy.
Well, your big vote will be 2022, won't it?
Right. Those are the midterms.
Yeah, and if you can get that, Congress back,
Right. That's the trick.
And if you can get that Congress and Senate, and then the creepy old man who likes sniffing children's hair, will. And he can't even put two words together because he can't remember if he got up in the morning or had a cup of tea.
I know. File this era of American political history under things I thought I would never see in my lifetime. It's crazy town. It's a clown show. It's an absolute clown show. I've never seen anything like it.
I don't want to get it too politics here, but I do follow it quite heavily, to tell you the truth. And I can't imagine. I really can't imagine why they voted that senile old fucker into power.
Well, I mean, this is one of the things. I don't want to get this stream in trouble, but
No.
He was not elected.
Well, I know that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's pretty much
We'll leave it
common.
at that.
It's pretty much common knowledge at this fact that the election was rigged. The mail-in voting and the at-home voting was used by their side to completely rig the election. The evidence is overwhelming. It's not even a conspiracy theory. You would have to be a fool to ignore all the evidence. But like Andy said, we're getting too political now, so we can talk about motorcycles or something. Yeah.
Weggy's back anyway, and we've got Nita as well. Look,
There you go, Nita. There we go, the lovely Nita. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't being rude there. I just had to skip off because we're sort of behind with bits and pieces. And of course, some duties have to be foretold, and we're just sorting out tea at the moment.
Nice. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
It does, yeah. That's a kebab, actually, to be fair.
You ruled it out, have you?
Yeah, but that was cool. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, Nita, just quickly, how are you? Because, of course, as we know, and I don't mind the saying because I did put it up, of course, Kenny's not been, obviously, Kenny is a good friend of ours, great friend of ours, as is Nita, and Kenny's not been very well. He's obviously back in hospital at the moment. So, any updates from Nita? What?
I brought him home tonight.
Oh,
you
good.
have you? Fantastic. He did actually send me a message earlier on.
Did he? Oh yeah, he said. Yeah. I did go and get him tonight.
Yeah, cool. How is he?
Still coughing and spluttering.
Is he? Yeah.
But he's not as bad as what he has been.
No, that's good. I will catch up with him at some point. But obviously, wishing Kenny all the best. I know he might be watching. He did say he might be watching. And of course, Kenny does comment quite regularly. So,
best wishes, Kenny. Feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not been well at all, to be fair. But let's just, obviously, just wish him all the best and hope to see you soon, Kenny boy.
Absolutely.
But,
I haven't actually met him face to face yet.
Anya.
No.
No.
And you two between each other. Oh.
Two more people to say hello to, obviously. Just say hello to Mrs. Saunders, Julie. Good evening. And,
Good evening.
hello. Are you all right?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm fine. Are you lot okay?
Yeah, a bit tired. Work is catching up with me again. I've only been back 3 weeks.
Plus the work, he keeps on getting his injuries, so he has to sit around all day.
I know. I drove me first Arctic tonight after 8 months off. So, yeah, that is what it is. Just like to say good evening to, obviously, Big Ed's.
He's just joined us, and Stitch.
Of course, my other half, Stitch, he's sitting quite happily in the kitchen at the moment. Good evening.
Ah. I bet that was big. You didn't get away back.
I'm looking for the little panes in the glass door.
I will be back in just a moment. I believe it's 4 p.m. Time for a beer. I'll be right back.
Okay, Tim, fill your boots, mate.
Sounds like a good plan.
No. Anyway, just quickly, right? Once upon a time, when I had my ZX12R, obviously, I'm not a great fan of, certain stands on motorcycles. And I owned the, you all know what the ABBA stand is, don't you? The ABBA stand, which has got the handle, and of course, you got the front wheel lift system. So when you crank the ABBA stand up, because you obviously fix it into the axle bolts with various adapters for different bikes. Well, I actually replaced it. I had one ZX12R 3-4 years ago, and I eventually sold it because I wasn't so much. I wasn't using it, I suppose, at that particular time. I don't mind admitting I needed some extra cash, so I ended up selling my ABBA stand and my adapters and my front wheel lift system. But obviously, with the ZZR 1400, it's only got a side stand, and there's no facility really for me to put a centre stand on it. So I've actually gone and purchased another ABBA stand and front wheel lift system. So that's cool. So I can now do proper maintenance on a bike, because you try working on any bike with just a side stand, that is a pain in the backside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, been there, got that T-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't do the chain properly. You can't do the wheels. You can't. It's just so many things you can't do. And even trying to clean it with the bike on the lead is a pain in the ass, especially with the injuries I've been picking up recently. It's just. So it's going to make life a lot easier. I mean, to be fair, if I'd had the money, I would have gone for the full system, which would have been the Skylift. The Skylift.
A lot of money though, Wiggy.
They're about 400. They're actually come down a little bit in price. They're about 480 now.
They've come down a little bit here in the States too, even though they're English made and they have to ship them to us. But everybody here is getting Skylifts. That may be one of my next purchases.
Tell you what, Tim, I'm not kidding you, right? I mean, the company's only based about 45 miles up a road from here. That's in a place called Wooden Ferris.
Oh wow!
And a lot of the to be fair, a lot of the stuff comes in, the various bits and pieces from China and Japan. But then there's, of course, the manufacturing and the distribution side, mainly for ABBA, is over here. Mm-hmm. But they are fantastic, mate. And of course, I know they're a lot of money, but when you get these various adapter kits, it's one of those pieces of kit. Once you've got it, you really want to keep it, because they're absolutely fantastic. Be able to lift your bike up. It does amaze people. When you look at the bikes that these things can physically lift, and you can rotate them as well, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's just another system in getting away possibly from having a big old workbench in your shed if you haven't got the space, But anyway, I'm chuffed I've got it anyway. So.
Well, no, I'm with you. In fact, while you were saying that, I was looking up. This is my one of my mates here in West Texas. He just bought one.
Right.
And let's see. Let's do application window. Here we go. Share. And he can throw his Zero. He has a Zerex exactly like mine, but just different paint scheme. Yeah. And this is how easily you can manipulate the bike. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Now,
it is absolutely fantastic.
Anything you need to do to the bike, you can do to it. So
there
it is right there. I guess this is when he was just taking it out of the boxes and testing it out. But and they take up virtually no room. I mean, I have a floor jack, paddock stands, and a couple of different other types of stands to figure out ways to lift up 5 different motorcycles. This piece right here, this bit of kit, would solve the problem for every motorcycle I own. It would be fantastic to have.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, I mean, they do some fantastic add-ons. I mean, and they're not stupidly expensive, really. I mean, the kits that they provide now for various stages of maintenance on a bike is fantastic. Even the simpler things like tool trays and stuff like that. I mean, they've covered quite a few corners with that. But the main point being is going back to their main design, it physically works. And of course, I'd heard Aberstans being recommended many years before I actually physically purchased one myself, and that was great, absolutely brilliant. Of course, it's not the Skylift, because everybody would love a Skylift, but then the thing is about a Skylift, you need your floor to be solid and you need it to be smooth, of course, for safety. But once you've got that, the world's your oyster really when it comes to bike maintenance using one of those things. So anyway, that's cost me it was actually a little bit cheaper this time. It cost me 97 English pounds, and that was with the adapters. If you buy the adapters, if you buy the adapters afterwards, they're £20 a kit, but they charge you about £11 for adapters when you buy the actual stand itself. And the front wheel lift system, which is obviously a separate unit that obviously all integrates, that's another £48. So that's not too bad. I'm quite chuffed with it. It's still in the box, mind you. I had a chance to open it.
Right. Wow. Well,
yeah, nice. I'm chuffed. At least I can get out in the garden now and do some proper maintenance. I noticed a bit of rust on the chain, to be fair.
Did you get the adaptation bit to bring the front wheel off as well? Then
yes, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my boy has got for a jigsaw.
Yeah.
He's got the whole kit. He gets it right off the ground.
I mean, you can. Oh no. I mean, depending. I mean, if you just bought the actual stand itself, of course, you can easily, obviously, just lean on the bike and then, or get somebody just to pull a bike back and then spin the front wheel. But to be honest, that front wheel lift system, when you lift that handle up, it actually lifts the bike around 1.5 inches to 2 inches off the ground, getting both wheels off. So when you're doing things like, oiling your chain, right? That's simple. When you want to clean your wheels properly, of course, being able to spin both wheels at the same time, and keep moving the thing backwards and forwards is fantastic. Yeah. And even then, and there's still enough room, Andy, to, if you need to drop the front wheel, depending on how you sort of, maneuver it around. But it is a fantastic bit of kit, and whether it be, you just want to clean your bike or whether you want to do some straightforward maintenance on it, fantastic. Well, like I say, if I had the money, I would go for the Skylift.
God, yeah, so would I.
Totally.
Yeah, I've got a ramp in my garage.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I suppose everybody, if we had the room and had the money, that we all have a sort of a proper motorcycle ramp, and of course the Skylift as well, and the stands. But obviously, it just depends on available space, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Sealy over here. Sealy, they're a company, based at Bury St Edmunds. They've got other places around, obviously in the UK and across the world, probably. But they make some nice kit, and they're not necessarily expensive. They make some nice motorcycle ramps and bits and pieces. So,
I think one was a generic no-name one off eBay. It was about half the price of a Sealy one.
Yeah. Well, the other guy that you notice, obviously, is our good friend Hepcat Harley, right? I mean, he's obviously just been building. I mean, Tim knows Hepcat. You're sure you do, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
Of course. And he's just been building that lovely shed. Well, to be honest, we're watching him build that fantastic workshop he's got. I thought, the amount of furniture he's putting in there, I thought he's not going to get a bike in it.
Yeah.
But he's got that.
It's a bike shop. Yeah, bike shop and corner pub.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He had that lockup that he was about 15 miles away from his place where he used to do it. No, that's what he called the Shed of Dreams. And that's where it was. And there's a lot of stuff in there. Basically, actually empty that out, shove it in a van, and shove it back in there.
Do you know what? We've got Nita sitting down the bottom there right now. I know Nita and Kenny very well, and another crew guy, Martin Halliday. So he's actually been building, extending their original shed in the garden. Well, the original shed consisted of a homemade turntable, right? That Kenny had made, and it was simple in design, but it actually physically worked, didn't it, Nita? It worked.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, now Martin's extended it quite a bit, and I'll tell you what, it's now a lovely big workshop, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I had to pick up Martin's 750. What's his bike? It's a Honda, isn't it? I had to pick that up the other day and take it back. And you know, it was a pleasure actually sort of rolling this bike into this new facility. And I'll tell you what, they got so much room in there, and he's got the obvious kit. He's got the workbench and this, that, and the other. And I thought to myself, you know what? I quite happily fork out for a Skylift to go in there, so go in there and do some maintenance. You know, because you get regular cups of tea. You've got so many bikes in there, haven't you? So many bikes in there, you know. But anyway,
I have a Bandit-related question for you, Weggy.
Yeah, go on, mate.
When you had your Bandit, did you ever have to do anything to the ride height on the front end to make it handle better? Did you ever lower or raise?
No, I didn't. The actual front end was standard, right?
Okay.
But the way it was exactly the same with my ZZR 1100. But the say for instance the adjustment of the wheels was different. You had the eccentric adjusters on the ZZR, right? Now the ZZR was a nice handling bike, but it wasn't the sharpest when it's going into corners. So what you did was obviously you could mess about with it, but the best way to go about it in the simplest way was to literally spin the eccentric round, right? So you raised the wheel by about 1.25 inches. All right.
Yeah. That's what my ZRX has, the exact same thing. Yeah,
you know exactly the same as what I'm talking about. So exactly the same thing. And by doing that, obviously you have to revert back to an old-fashioned style of wheel alignment and chain adjustment, but that's no problem. All right. But then obviously by lifting the rear end up slightly, you're tipping it slightly forward. And I'll tell you what, it's a noticeable difference with the actual sharpness of the handling that going into corners. Now the Bandit, my Bandit, if you remember, Tim, it was quite high at the back, and it has actually 40mm dog bones in the back.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the front end was standard in the triple tree, was not adjusted whatsoever, but the rear end essentially sat about 33mm higher than it would have standard.
Okay.
And by doing that, obviously it made the front end a lot sharper. But saying that, when other people actually sat on it, it was one of those bikes, Tim, that I actually loved. I loved the handle of it, but it was other. And I can tell you of a few people that sat on it and thought, I really don't like this Weggy, and they wouldn't ride it. You know, purely for the fact that it was so
sort of aggressive ergonomics.
It was, mate. And to be honest, they said, well, it just doesn't feel right, but it felt right for me. And I never had a problem with it. I never had a problem with the handling. Never had a problem with the cornering. And yet 80 at Cox Motorcycles in Ipswich, he wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. He'd work on it and he'd do various bits and pieces. But if you asked him to take it out on the road for a test ride, he'd say, Weggy, I'd rather not.
Well, I think where I am with my Bandit is it handles generally well, and overall I'm very pleased with the motorcycle. In fact, I just rode it today. I just got home an hour ago and joined you guys, and the motor's still hot in the garage. Yeah. But the bike in serious corners, it acts like it wants to stand up, if that makes sense. Really? You pick a line and you get tucked in and you start rolling on throttle gently through the turn or aggressively depending. And the more throttle you add, the more the bike is trying to stand up on you. And I've talked to several people about it. I've never had a motorcycle do that before. No. So I talked to my friend Roger, who is also a Bandit owner and has a bunch of GSXR 1100 stuff. He said that's an indication that you may want to lower the front end just slightly.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm going to do probably this weekend is I'm going to maybe drop it 1 centimeter, maybe 2 centimeters.
Yeah.
See how that works out. And then if I like it, leave it. And if not, continue to make adjustments. That's why I asked.
Exactly. No, it's no worries, mate. Because you can either do it. I mean, obviously, I suppose you get the same effect. Obviously, you know, you either tip the rear end up or drop the front end, which is in effect the same thing. Depends on, I suppose, your physical height for a start. You know, I suppose because obviously the rear end was lifted rather than the front end dropped on the Bandit. It was at where I sat, and I'm not exactly tiny, but I'm not the tallest bloke in the world. I'm sort of just around sort of just under 6 foot. So it was to move the bike backwards, if you make sure back pedaling, sometimes my feet would slip because I was that much higher than the standard. But so you had to be sort of pretty careful. But as from a ride situation, it definitely sharpened the front end up. You know.
Okay.
I would imagine the same, mate. So yeah, trial and error, mate. I say I did it. Just let the forks slip through a centimetre or a centimetre and a half, and see how you go.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. In fact, I may do that. Well, I can't do it tonight, but I've got a dinner meeting tonight. But I think I will try that and just see how it is. And I'm 175 centimeters or thereabouts, so I'm not the tallest guy in the world, and so it may help me from that point. I'm more or less flat-footed on the bike, but it's definitely the tallest bike I've got right now, so it may help with regard to that.
Is that the standard? Because my seat was different on mine. That was what the hell was it? It wasn't obviously the standard seat. I'm trying to remember the exact brand name of mine. It's quite an expensive seat, and one that you can't buy anymore. I don't know if you remember the pictures. I will bring it up later. But that the seat sat just a little bit lower than the standard seat as such. I know exactly the seat. You know what
I think you're talking about, right?
Yeah. I can't obviously remember the name of it now. But anyway, let's say the actual bike itself, when you're riding it, bearing in mind that the handlebars weren't standard either, Tim. They were Renthal bars, all right?
Okay.
So, and they weren't lifted bars by any stretch of the imagination, but they were slightly different to the originals, which gave it, I suppose, it wasn't a street fighter as such, but it gave it a sort of a street fighter stance and a ride, if you like, you know.
Slightly
bit of a
wide
hooligan.
as well.
It was a bit of a hooligan. Yeah, Corbin. That's great. Cheers,
Corbin. Okay.
Corbin
like a gunfighter seat. I know exactly the one you're talking about now.
Yeah, cheers for that, Gord. Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't. I don't know if you think you can buy them now. I mean, they're originally at 250, 300 English pounds.
Well, how it works with Corbin's in the States is that they will just build you a seat one-off. So once they build a seat for a bike, they keep the molds. And then anytime you need any seat for any motorcycle, you just call them up and order one, and they build it for you to order.
Yeah.
And so I could easily get a Corbin gunfighter seat for the bike. But this is you can see that the seat is actually, the padding is very thick. In the pilot's position. Which kind of has me in some situations not quite flat-footed. But that's a comfortable seat. That's
I'm just looking at your bike. I mean, the bike is pretty much part. I mean, it's a standard apart from the Yoshi. You got the Yoshimura can on the back, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Everything is pretty well stock. It's got it's obviously rejetted. It's stage 2 dyno jet inside.
Oh, is that really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, nice.
Just to free up, just to get a little bit of more fuel moving through the air. And it has a K&N or no. It has a BMC air filter in the air box. So it's higher flowing air box, and then obviously a higher flowing canister. So stage 2, it runs just about right with stage 2. It's about 110 horsepower. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the thing is, like the stage one tune over here is absolutely fine. And so is the stage 2. It's the stage 3 that start upsetting a lot of things, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 2 is about as far as you really want to go with a Bandit, to be honest.
Okay.
I personally think so. And I've sort of obviously with the different forums and I read into it. But do you know what, Tim? I can be honest with you, and everybody knows this. I've got that beautiful ZZR 1400, right? It's a fantastic motorcycle with so much power and it handles beautifully. Mm-hmm. But I do miss my Bandit. Right? Because they are what they are. They're such a simple powerhouse with a stack load of torque. They're not crazy horsepower, but they've got more than enough for most people on tap. And they're just an enjoyable bike to ride.
Absolutely.
The
fun factor is very high with the Bandit.
It is.
So same good thing with the ZRX. Now the ZRX, I have it tuned much more aggressively than I have the Bandit, and so it's more horsepower. It's a little more manic, but still, the way those bikes make torque, the way the torque curve exists in the overall power profile is it's very pleasing.
It's pleasing. Some of the most stupidest grins I've had on my face behind a black visor. Do you know what? It is such simple fun, isn't it? Mm-hmm. They're not hard to work on. They're easy to maintain. Mm-hmm. Of course, if you can buy one with the standard loom nowadays, you know, you're a lucky man. Especially over here. I don't know about yours. Yours looks bog standard. And hopefully
Yes.
all your electrics are still standard.
All electric stand. Yeah, that's another great thing about desert motorcycles. No
Yeah.
corrosion in the electrics.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the electrics on this look brand new.
Great. Well, trust me, Tim, you don't need corrosion over here for people to start ripping bandits apart. And
Oh.
start doing silly things like that.
I see.
But
Yeah.
People get bored.
Motorcycle,
People get bored and they want to
Even
start
though-
sticking flashing LEDs on all sorts of bloody things.
Well, I do have the headlight problem with my Bandit. So the S models from 2005 with that particular half fairing on them have a very strange headlight setup. They're these two very strangely lensed beam headlights, and there is a chemical or a liner that they put inside of the housing that basically turns to a gray dust.
Really?
And I have that problem. So the headlights, in particular the low beam, is full of this strange gray dust, and you can barely see the low beam. You can tell it's on, but you don't really get any significant luminosity out of it. So I have to ride around all the time with the high beams on. But I have parts on order that are taking forever to get here to fix that. That is going to clean those lenses out, and then I'm going to use replacement LEDs that use the standard wiring and harnesses. So hopefully that'll solve it.
Yeah, what are the laws over there like for lights? I mean, can you use you know about all the HID and the LED bulbs, which obviously are used quite commonly over here, but they've just changed the MOT rules.
I saw that. I saw that on the Bandit forum that the MOT rules for you guys have changed. That now you're not allowed to have any of that. It has to essentially be stock halogen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't understand what that is. I guess you guys have a lot of people blinding people with motorcycle lights. Maybe
Cars. A lot of
Cars
people
more
are
than
being
cars.
blinded by cars.
Definitely.
Okay.
Cars
Okay.
are the ones that do it.
Yeah, it's not been the motorcycles that cause a problem, but the motorcycles are a bit more of a ball ache because, to be fair, the ZZR out there is fully LED. It's front and back.
I'll tell you guys, not to make you jealous or anything, but when it comes to motorcycles in Texas, nobody gives a shit. We can do whatever we want.
Really?
We can, as long as we don't run police lights or something on our motorcycles and our hot rods. Generally speaking, they don't care. They don't care how much noise the bike makes. They don't care what kind of lighting you run. They don't care. You can run race tires on the street. Nobody cares. We don't have an MOT here. What we have in Texas is basically it's called the TSI, the Texas Safety Inspection, and it takes about 5 minutes. You do it once a year, and the kid basically asks you, do the turn signals work? And you go, yeah, here. And he goes,
really?
Okay, tires look good. All the lights work. Okay, here's your certificate. It costs $7, and that's it. So
really?
Yeah, that's
But
it.
then I suppose the fact is
bought a vehicle along, give me $7.
Being a seasoned biker and that, and the fact that you want, obviously your bikes, you want to keep them maintained, and obviously you want to survive.
Right. The want for self-preservation ensures that most people take very good care of their motorcycles.
So it doesn't need an MOT, does it? It doesn't need that. At the end of the day, common sense and the fact that you want to carry on living, right, may mean that you maintain your motorcycle with just a normal forethought. That's what you do. You purchase this thing, you want to look after it.
Yeah, you won't catch me MOT, no MOT, TSI, no TSI. You will not catch me running bald tires on a motorcycle.
Can I just ask a question, Tim? Right? Because over here it's the case of it's getting worse and worse and worse. Every single corner, every single road, right? They can't go for a mile now without a speed camera, right? The cameras are everywhere in this country now.
Yeah.
How many miles can you travel without having one of these cameras? No, silly question, really. Kind of desert, of course.
Well, it doesn't matter because speed cameras are illegal in Texas. So, so we have no speed cameras at all.
Well,
it's not there. It's against. It violates the Texas Constitution, and to a lesser degree, it violates the United States Constitution. Because here, and also here was one of the things that killed speed cameras for the most part, especially in the southern United States. They are run by private companies, and you should look into whether or not the speed cameras in the UK are run by private companies. What that does essentially is it puts that private company in a situation to where it has a vested interest in profiting by making sure people receive those tickets.
Yeah.
And so you have a conflict of interest. And in Texas, we figured out really quick that that violated a whole bunch of our laws. You can't have a private sector company
No.
in there. And they were doing some underhanded things, like they were shortening the amber light. So here in the U.S., we have green light, amber light, red light.
Yeah.
And you guys have, I kind of understand how you guys work. You guys, yours will flash on and off. Some of them stay constant, but so suffice it to say, the amber light gives you the warning that the light is about to turn red.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what these companies were doing, it was found out in the Houston area of Texas, is they were shortening the ambers in order to cause more people to run the red lights so that they could write more citations.
Yeah.
And the Texas legislature found out about that, and during the next legislature, all speed cameras in Texas were instantly made illegal. So we don't have to worry about that.
No.
Red light cameras do exist in the major metropolitan areas, but they are also being slowly phased out for a lot of the same reasons. Red light cameras and speed cameras for different reasons. So it's one of those things that we just don't have to deal with it, and I'm quite frankly glad. Also, here our Constitution gives us we're protected in that we have the right to face our accusers when we're accused of any offense, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. It doesn't matter the severity of the offense. We have a right in court to face our accuser. And when your accuser is a camera or a computer, you can't face your accuser. And so it creates some legal problems. So I don't understand why. I don't understand why. I know that speed cameras and red light cameras are a huge problem in the UK, and I don't understand why your government feels compelled to do that to you guys, because it doesn't seem to me, all the data that we have in the United States suggested that the use of those cameras actually did the opposite. They either did not increase safety or they caused accidents because of how people behaved around them.
Yeah.
So it's a strange thing.
Slam on the brakes when they see the speed camera.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
You got to remember, Tim. You know.
Back in a second, lads. I'm just going to quickly get some food down me. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to remember, Tim. This is the UK, and the UK hasn't got a constitution.
Correct.
We've got nothing.
Right. You're subjects, not citizens. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's right. So we haven't got that. And a lot of the cameras that they use, because we have like vans that sit on the side of the road and they put themselves in funny little situations. And if you come round the corner and do a 30, you're going too fast. They're going to take a picture of you. Now, you wouldn't know that happened to you. And when a couple of days later or 3 days later, you'll get a letter through saying you've been caught speeding on such and such a road. And you, as a citizen, have to say yes or no. So if you say, yes, I was, you're incriminating yourself.
Right.
And that is actually against British law. You shouldn't,
You don't have to incriminate yourself.
You should not be compelled to incriminate yourself.
Yeah,
We have
they
that protection
impel us.
here too, right?
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter here. And the other thing is, these people who are using these speed cameras are private companies.
Yeah.
So really, the only person in Britain who can actually do you for speed is a police officer, because a normal citizen, which these people are in the van who are taking the pictures, really got no right to prosecute another citizen. But for some reason, our governments over the years just let it go under the carpet.
Well, Andy, you're wrong in that way. We have the right to make a citizen's arrest.
Oh yeah.
Well, we
I
have
know,
that too. We have that too.
Yeah, you've got the right to make a citizen's arrest, but we obviously can't prosecute them. But
No.
the companies don't prosecute. They pass the money on to the big friendly policemen and the criminal prosecution offices.
Mm-hmm.
And it's them that actually prosecute us.
Yes. Well, it's Texas isn't perfect. We have our problems.
Nowhere is.
But I'm glad that we don't have to deal with a lot of that. Texas figured out long ago is that the freer you allow people to be, the wiser and happier everyone is, and also the more prosperous everyone is. The less you fine people, the less you tax people, the less you overregulate people, the less you regulate people in general, they of their, human action takes over. Well, if you're prosperous and you're free and you don't have to worry about all this stuff, well, you might start a new business. You might hire another employee. And before you know it, Texas is rich. And so Texas government in general, in my lifetime, has tended to stay out of our way when it comes to I guess what you might call micromanaging our behaviors through that type of law. It's just not something culturally at this point that would fly here. Now, if we have a few million more Californians move here, who knows what might happen. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I try to be, but I'm always interested in how you guys have to deal with that sort of thing just in your daily lives from day to day, and what the consequences are for breaking those laws. Now, we do have, you can't run from a police officer. That's a felony here. They'll put you in jail. That's a state jail felony. Our fines for excessive speeding tend to be pretty high, but you have to keep in mind that the highest highway speed limit here in Texas is 85 miles an hour. So people tend on the highway not to speed a whole heck of a lot. And so I'm always interested in that from sort of a social standpoint. I'm always interested to learn other people's experiences, because I get really spoiled to living in a place where most of the time I could just do whatever the hell I want and nobody cares. As long as I don't mess up somebody else in the process, as long as I don't, mess up someone else's property or get in someone else's way, or I'm not overly annoying to someone. We have kind of a don't tread on me mentality here. So
we're more nanny state orientated, because you get so used to it. You get so used to snow. Oh, I know along this bit of road there's speed cameras, because they've got to advertise the fact there are speed cameras there, apart from the pop-up ones with the vans. But if the speed camera's around, you've got a sign there saying speed camera, and you go, shit, it means I've got to obey the speed limit then.
Mm-hmm. They're even
also tell by the markings on the road as well whether a speed camera is actually they are able to use it, because there's got to be markings on the road.
Wow, that seems to me like it's an industrial complex in and of itself. So now you have all of these cameras and all of this infrastructure and all of these people that are employed to oversee and run it. And so now if you don't write a bunch of citations for that, then you can't maintain that infrastructure and pay all the employees. That seems like that seems like a very bad industrial complex to set up, because it incentivizes prosecuting people unnecessarily.
In my county, West Midlands, they actually stopped using the speed cameras.
Wow.
They're actually on several roads on where there are what they call accident black spots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, accident black spots. I mean, some drunken arsehole got run over because he walked out the pub. But yeah, whether or no, two idiot kids were racing and they had a crash.
Well, I think
these accident black spots, they use the average speed cameras now. So there's about 3 or 4 roads in Coventry that got average speed cameras, but everywhere else in Coventry there's no cameras whatsoever, and the West Midlands in general.
Interesting.
Only on roads in the cities.
They're now, I'll tell you what, Tim, you talk about speed cameras, they're now playing with the noise cameras now as well.
Yeah.
Noise cameras, really?
Yeah.
So if your bike is too loud or your car's too loud, you go past it, that will take a picture of your car or your bike, and you'll get fined for having excessive noise of your car or your bike.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've actually they've done several trials around several biker cafes.
Yeah.
They're picking on the bikers again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Noise
easy to pick on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Well, I'll tell you, that would last. That would not last in Texas. Number one, not everybody, but loud motorcycles and loud hot rods and loud trucks, loud diesel trucks. I mean, I mean, Americans have a reputation for being loud, and I suppose there's a modicum of honest truth in that. We tend to talk a little louder culturally. We like loud machines and that sort of thing. But I would be interested now. I may do a little research to see if there is any area in the United States that's employing the same technology. Because here's the deal. In areas like, for example, New York City, okay, New York City, you have a tremendous amount of people in a very, very small area, especially Manhattan Island. So what they've started doing in Manhattan Island is if you have a very loud vehicle, they will ticket you for it, and then they immediately impound the vehicle, and which would not obviously fly in a place like Texas or anywhere in the American South. But there, where you have this overpopulation problem, they do that. And the reason they do it is because of the way the court systems there work. If you get a ticket for excessive noise on a motorcycle or in a car, and then you get it fixed before you go to court, you can show the judge where you had it fixed and it's dismissed. So now you've used the court's time, the police officer's time, you've used everybody's time that's been involved in this, and there's no fine paid because the offense is dismissed, basically. The case is dismissed. So what they figured out in New York City was, well, what we'll do on these excessive noise cases, we'll immediately just impound the vehicle, and then that way they can't get it fixed between the time they go to court and you see what I'm saying? Yeah. They're basically holding the vehicle hostage as evidence, and it's really chintzy. It's being challenged from what I understand. They've been challenging it on and off for several years now, trying to get rid of it. But man, New York City is its own animal. It's you see the worst of governance in general in a place that's that overpopulated and that crowded, because everybody's up each other's asses. You can't go anywhere without running into somebody, bumping into somebody. The streets are crowded, the buildings are crowded, and so laws become more draconian in those situations.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation of overcrowded, and I think that's part of the reason why ours are more draconian than yours. Because the number of people per mile is.
I think, Carl, there were some figures released today after the census, and it worked out that there's 615 people to every square mile of Britain.
Yeah.
615 people in every square mile of Britain. Yeah. I think they're saying the population is 62, 63 million. That's not. It's a lot higher than that.
Oh yeah,
that's fine.
Wow.
Okay, I think so one of for size of land mass, we're one of the most populated countries in the world.
And you guys, the entire UK is about the size of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys have the population density of London is 14 is almost 15,000 people per square mile.
Yeah.
So let's see the town I live in. Let's see what the population density is.
Yeah.
10.
Let's see here, just out of curiosity.
Mangy dog.
Population here. The population density where I live is about 1,900 people per square mile versus 15,000 people per square mile, and that's in the city. That's not in the rural areas. So
yeah, and we've got just under half that in adds actually the population of the country.
Mm-hmm. And in New York City, let's look up the population density. Just
it's probably higher than London, I would have thought. There's a lot higher.
It's almost twice London. The population density is almost twice that of London. Wow. So that's a lot of people. The total population of just the city of New York City, not any of the boroughs, is, let's see, what do we got here? 8.2 million people. Yeah, in New York City.
A couple of 3 people in a small space, isn't it?
Yes. Wow. That's incredible. I am too much of a country boy to ever live in a city like that.
Well, I'm quite lucky because I live in Suffolk, so Suffolk is not one of the most denser populated areas of Britain, but are still just getting there. We're a little bit like Texas in a way, Suffolk, because people are moving up from London into Suffolk, Essex, and then up into Suffolk, because we're only 60 miles from the centre of London where I live, but that is rural. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think Ipswich has got a population of about 120,000 people, something like that.
Okay.
Well, I'm lucky.
That's about the population of my town is about 110,000. So that's not too bad. I do notice that, in your videos, you find lots and lots of back roads, or what we would call back roads here, where you pretty much have the road to yourself. But if there's a speed camera around every corner, you can't have much fun with that.
Well, that's usually the main road you have to watch.
The thing is, a lot of those back roads are national speed limit, so it's 60 miles an hour anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're going 60 miles an hour on some of them roads, like you'd be pretty brave.
You're mad.
Yeah, they are very narrow roads with very sharp corners, and they usually have hedges and old 500-year-old brick walls lining them.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, if you went 60 mile an hour down most of them roads, you're going to be sitting on a cloud by the end of your day.
Playing your harp.
Yeah, playing your harp. But there's when you talk about road safety, we've got a road that comes off the A12, which is the main road that goes to London, and slip road goes off roundabout down a big hill called Worsted Hill. Well, the other night, early in the morning, a boy racer got killed up there. Right, he's probably racing another car and he crashed. So the local council bloke who runs the road says, "Oh, this is a tragedy," which it is. He got killed. This road's so dangerous, it's got to come down from 60 mile an hour to 40 mile an hour.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I've lived here 5 years, and I've never known anybody to be killed there. That was the first one. But as soon as somebody's killed, they want to drop the speed limit down because it's a dangerous road.
Right. Well, here to do that here, to raise or lower a speed limit on a road after it is established requires a couple of things. The first thing it requires is an engineering study. So they don't want some politician just arbitrarily saying, "Oh, we're changing this law today because something bad happened." Well, bad circumstances always lead to bad laws if you allow it. Yeah. And so what they do is first of all, they bring in their engineering team for the city or the county or whoever the municipality is, and they will make an assessment, and then they have to have that engineering study peer reviewed. So a non-government engineering team has to look at the same data and see if they agree with it or not in order to raise or lower. When we were raising our speed limits in Texas we raised them when the 55 mile an hour national speed limit went away, and then we raised them again in the 90s when we went to the 75 mile an hour speed limit. And then we raised them again about maybe 15 years ago or 20 years ago when we went to the 80 mile an hour speed limit. And they had to do those studies every single time. And what they figured out through those studies was that it's okay to do it here in this county, but it's not okay to do it in this county because of various things: infrastructure, population, blah, 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 road design, that sort of thing. But it's one of those things that you can't just do something like that here willy-nilly. You can't have somebody get killed and then everybody has a knee-jerk reaction to that tragedy and then creates a bad law behind it. Yeah. It does happen from time to time. I mean, no system of law is perfect, but in general, that would be something that would require a lot of due process to accomplish here.
So you've got to remember
do you have any variable speed limit?
Yes.
Roads?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
It used to be on the 80 mile an hour highways. Before they went to 80, they were 75. And at nighttime, for a long time, the nighttime speed limit was 65. And that was mainly in trucking corridors for what you guys call lorries, the big trucks, big semi trucks, because you didn't want in the middle of the night trucks rolling through 80 or 90 miles an hour trying to deliver freight or whatever. But that all went away when we went to the 80-mile-an-hour speed limit. And since then, you have variable speed limits in like near schools is an example. So you may have like a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, but during school hours or during the times when school is letting in and letting out, it may be a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, that sort of thing. So we have lots of places where there's variable speed limits. Yes.
So Tim, what is the speed limit on a say a lorry over in Texas?
It would be whatever the highway speed limit is. But here's the deal. Trucking companies a lot of times will impose their own speed limits on their drivers. So if you're on an 80-mile-an-hour road, and you're hauling a 60,000 pound load, your company may have a policy that says you can't go over 70. And that's done a lot of times because of how those companies are having to deal with their insurance companies. Their insurance goes way, way up if they allow higher speeds. But what that causes is it causes a problem in traffic. So if you have a truck that's limited by company policy to 65 miles an hour and everybody else is going 85 around him, you can imagine the problems that can cause. So
we've got 50. What's ours? 55 in it for the bigger trucks and caravans.
56.
56.
Okay. They can only go 50 hour on motorways. That's all they can do. And we're only allowed 70 anyway. So you can imagine they're always overtaking each other. And sometimes you can be stuck behind a lorry for 3 or 4 miles before it gets past the lorry. That's over. People get very bloody frustrated.
One's doing 55 and a half and the other's doing 56 and a half.
Yeah.
It takes them a while to get past each other.
Yeah, and they won't. The lorry on the inside will not give way to the lorry on the outside.
Oh.
How many miles it takes.
Yeah, we call that a pissing contest when two trucks do that.
Yeah.
They won't let anybody. They're so busy being mad at each other that they're holding up all the traffic behind them.
And the other thing you find with our lorry drivers over here, if you're coming down, say you're coming down the road, say 70, and you might be 80, and there's 2 lorries in front of you. He won't care if you're coming down at 70 or 80. If he wants to get past the lorry, he'll just pull out. It doesn't matter. You sometimes virtually put your bike front wheel in a stoppie.
Wow.
Because he will just pull out and he won't give a shit. He won't give a freaking rat's ass that you're behind him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Always interesting to learn these things.
The thing is that they got the spy in the cab though, so if they've got a certain amount of hours to do a certain distancing and all sorts of stuff like that, it's a legal requirement sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They can't actually go a certain number of hours in the cab. They've got the spy in the cab that says you've been on the road for 7 hours. You've got to take a break. You've got to go to bed or whatever.
Mm-hmm. We have similar regulations here. Yeah, you have that used to be handwritten logbooks that lorry drivers would have, but now it's all electronic. And that used to be a big thing, was figuring out how to cheat your logbook so that you could stay on the road for a little bit longer and try to make a few more miles before you had to go out of service for an hour or 8 hours or whatever the minimum was at the time. So. My mate's in trouble for that at the moment. He's been not laid off, suspended from work for a couple of weeks now. He took his the USB sticks basically. He took his USB stick out, put it in his pocket, went off and did work around the yard where the truck was actually waiting in the queue. He then went back into his truck, put it in, and pressed the wrong button. He said he'd been on a break instead of actually working in the yard. Oh no! He's on suspension. You can't make this crap up, can you? No. Oh my gosh. No. All right. Well, gents, it is almost 5 o'clock here, and I'm going to have to start getting ready for my next engagement, if you will. But I really enjoyed spending time with you guys. I look forward to doing it again sometime soon. I always enjoy the heck out of this.
See you later, then, Tim, mate.
Good man, mate.
Good.
Okay.
See you, maybe next
Be
week or
good.
week after, or the week
Yeah,
after next. Or
I
maybe.
will try to keep a sort of a semi-permanent hole in my schedule if I can to join you guys.
Yeah.
So we'll try it again next week. And good evening and good night to everybody in the side chat too. Thanks for hanging out with us as well. See you guys later.
See you later, Tim boy.
Good night.
Yeah.
That's a lovely chap, isn't he?
John's joined us, John Langton. Hello, John, mate. That was a
Oh,
while
John's-
ago.
oh yeah. Night, Tim.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy, isn't he, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
Very
Anyway,
knowledgeable as well.
I'll be back in a sec. I've got old man bladder problems.
Oh my God, mate. Prostate, mate, isn't it? Mate, he's got prostate. Isn't he? He's going to probably take about an hour now to get a thimble full out, isn't he?
Yeah.
What have you been up to then, Nita? Anything sort of exciting?
I've been doing a lot of hours
Have you?
working, but because of the business I got with husband, I've had to quit. So I can keep an eye on him 24/7.
Yeah. Well, so you're going
And
to take some time off, are you? Or?
Yeah, but it's going to be extended.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I might go back. I might not.
All right.
Or depends
Yes.
how he is.
Yeah, if they can sort him out and that and get him back on the track, you know. That
Yeah.
might be, yeah. Because
he's
he's
got-
well. Go on.
He's got this is it COPD?
Yeah.
And he's got it bad, bless him.
Yeah. It's not good,
He's
that.
got it bad. Horrible.
Oh, boy.
I've never seen him like it before, but
No.
we'll get there.
But
Yeah. get there.
Yeah. That'll all wash out in the water, as they say.
Yeah.
Feel better for
take-
that, girl.
yeah, it's nothing to do with prostrates, mate. It's a pint of tea and 2 pints of bevy. Well, 2.5 pints of bevy.
That's what
No,
you're
you-
telling us,
It
Carl.
doesn't put a bit of pressure on the old waterworks, mate.
I'll tell you what, Carl, that's a good job. That's a good job we ain't got a constitution over here, isn't it? Bloody hell. All the shit they try and put on us.
Oh,
We have to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah. My God.
but
Bad enough.
then again, you have a constitution, and when they actually, when things change, it's so hard to get a constitution changed.
Mm.
It's like,
Yeah,
you know,
they do, don't they? Yeah,
Yeah.
every state have to agree to it, don't they, or something?
yeah, and things like that.
Yeah.
It's so hard. No, I don't know what Tim feels like it, but I think some of the gun laws in the USA are so bloody ridiculous, unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I think you'll find that Tim is probably happy with gun laws, probably. I don't know, but
I
I
don't
would
know.
have thought,
But, no, I think
from what he was saying tonight, I would say he's more of a, I think he's more of a Republican than a Democrat, let's put it that way.
I get confused.
actually, Tim, I would peg more as a libertarian.
Yeah,
What's one of
Yeah.
them?
I know.
mean,
I know Tim has got a gun. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
He's actually had it in his video.
libertarian is somebody who minimum state intervention.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they over nanny us, you know what I mean?
Mm.
I think you should have your own destinies in your own hands. And if you do fall out on hard times, you do need a little bit of a safety net to get you back.
Oh
you know?
yeah, too right. And
Yeah.
that's my gripe at the moment. The biggest gripe I've got with this country, the safety net isn't good enough.
No. Well, I think safety is being used by people who shouldn't be in the safety net. And a lot of
but
people
the
who
long
should be in the
story of it,
safety net are not being looked after. Yeah.
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 No, the
A lot
swings
of people
and
taking the
roundabouts,
piss.
but a lot, the amount of money that a lot of these folk that sort of take from the system, they then put systems in place that cost more money than the money that's been taken by the people who are gaming the system. So
Yeah.
we pay more money into private enterprise looking after it's supposed to be looking after our money, but we actually cost us more money in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. I can go along with that.
Okay, that's good. That's good move then. But it keeps their chums in money, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Well, I think some of these contracts that have gone out to certain companies, especially for this COVID and beyond that as well, with like taking prisoners from court to jail and all this sort of stuff. They're just contracts for mates and not. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't like too much public, the private sector doing public sector work.
No, I never agreed.
I'd rather shell my taxes out to employ people within the public sector to do the job.
You know, the thing that I never agreed with things like railway, electric, and all that sort of stuff being put into private hands. The one that really got me, and it still does actually, is the water companies. Now everybody needs a glass of water to live. You know, we can't live without it.
Nobody should be making profit from it.
No, nobody should be making a profit out of a commodity that everybody needs to live.
Yeah.
Somebody's making a profit every time I turn my tap on. It shouldn't be. That should be in private ownership. Not private, in public ownership. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
The utilities, the stuff you absolutely must have to live.
Yeah.
You know, put into your household.
Yeah.
It should be public ownership.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never agreed with any of that crap, but it's happened, so you do, you know.
Yeah.
Robbing bastards.
Robbing bastards. Robbing bastards. We're just going to see. They are. The point is, they rob you all your life. You work all your life. They take all that tax off you. And then you get to retire, and they put a few more years on you. And then they give you a pension that's not worth fucking heaven.
No, it's not.
And if you don't take it, if you keep on working and you don't take it, they might give you an extra $5 a week or something for every year. And if you know, when you get to a certain age, you never know what's going to happen to you. So you might flog it, unfortunately, because they keep all that money then, don't they? They don't give it to anybody else. They don't say, here to your wife, here's your pension from your husband. You know, you've got to wait till you get yours. So all that money,
I'm lucky that both myself and the missus get a full pension.
I got a full state pension. I got it the other week. They told me what it was be. I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be great.
It's about, is it not 9? Well, it's between 9 and 10 grand, isn't it?
Yeah, it works out. I think mine works out about 8,500 for the year.
Yeah.
Ain't much. Something, I don't know, £700 a month or something.
Yeah.
That's not a lot, is it?
My army pension's only £300 a month. It's lucky I was actually in a defined benefits pension with Cable and Wireless. I actually took the cash from that and put it into a drawdown.
Yeah.
So I can actually draw a decent, monthly, decent amount a month out of that till the state pensions start. Then I can actually start, having less out of that. And
yeah, because Weggy was saying about a guy we know. He's retired. He's a year older than me, so he's just retired. But he's going to work 3 days a week. So if you can do that, take the pension. You know, it's not going to be too bad as long as you can keep doing it. You know, working. But you can't work forever.
They teach you for it.
They will. If you go
pension.
Yeah, if your pension you get will be taxed if you keep working. If you go over the 12,000 threshold, you'll be paying tax like anybody else.
12,500, isn't it nowadays?
Yeah. So if you go over that, you'll be taxed.
Another thing is if your missus isn't actually, or your partner isn't actually earning enough to pay state pension, to pay tax, you can actually transfer over. I think it's 1,500. So you get was it 13, 14
All
a
right.
year before you pay tax.
Yeah.
I don't
Crazy.
get it. You pay tax when you work, and then when you finish, you still got to pay frigging tax on it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I
And if
have
you-
to pay
I
tax
don't
on my
get it.
pension.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So they're
They just tax you to
messing you
death, don't they?
But
twice.
the thing is, pensions aren't taxed. The money I put into my not the state pension, but the money I put into my works pension wasn't taxed. So they tax it after the event. So say if I earn 500 quid, I put it in 500 quid a month. I put it in my pension. It doesn't get taxed. It goes 500 quid goes into my pension,
But
and it's
before
only
you
when
pay
I
your
actually start drawing from it I pay tax.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's not exactly unfair.
Mm. Yeah, but if you work, you pay your tax, you pay your national insurance.
No, yeah, but the thing is that if the 500 quid I put into my pension, no national insurance, no tax. 500 quid
Oh.
goes in. It's before tax, before national insurance.
All right, I get it. I think.
Yeah. So it's so it goes into your pension fund. Your pension fund over time makes money as well, and that's not taxed. It's only when you start drawing money out of it they tax you. So it's not exactly unfair.
Right, I got it. I think.
I'd rather
Yeah.
it didn't happen, but it's not exactly unfair.
They just want
I've only got a
basically,
digi brain cell.
they just want to tax you to death as much as they can, and when you do die, they still tax you if you've got a bit of money.
I know. Oh dear.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, he's dying.
Yeah.
We tax him now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll just
Empty
get
your
buried in the
pockets and
garden.
take it from behind.
I certainly will. Yeah, I certainly will.
Oh my God.
Where's still not back? Where's he been?
I don't know.
I think he's got lost in his dinner.
Well, if you don't come back, then, Carl, if you don't come back, Carl, we just call it a day. It's just gone 11.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I reckon his focus took a wrong turn. Bless him.
Just,
Oh,
I'm just a bit
dear.
worried about tomorrow night and the weather and this,
Yeah.
don't
Is
look
it
It's
good.
a shame, like, it sounds like
Yeah.
it's going to be a good event, doesn't it? A good place to have an event as well.
Oh yeah,
Our bikers meet.
yeah. That's the ideal place. But
Yeah.
Where's that?
the
Orwell.
Allwell Crossing
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow night, isn't it? But they're forecasting 50 odd mile an hour winds tomorrow night.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
imagine trying to get across that bridge at 50 mile an hour winds. Ooh.
Oh. Don't they knock it down to 40 when it's windy?
Yeah.
Because they did
Oh,
last
no.
time.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't have to
really, really bad. They might shut it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I know it's windy out there at the minute.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, all afternoon here, isn't it?
I can
Yeah,
hear it.
it's been blowing the trees around a bit.
Yeah. Weggy's put so much hard work into that as well. Him and his missus and other people.
Yeah.
You get your first one, and it's bloody weather's against you. You know.
Mm.
Yeah. Pretty annoying, but
Yeah.
hopefully it will take off.
Oh yeah, I think it will. I think if he can, get over this one and have one 2 weeks time, and the weather's better, I think that will definitely. I wouldn't put too much on this first one. That will.
That'll be all right.
That will come out in the wash, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll make it.
Yeah.
That'll make
Never
it.
mind.
Right,
Have you done much
I'm
in
gonna go
the
to
way of
bed.
biking this week at all, Andy?
Hmm?
You did much in the way of biking this week?
I went out Monday morning just for a little ride, done a little vlog, come back, and now the weather's been shit in it. And like I say, I've sort of work-wise, I don't know what the hell is going on, so I don't know. Really don't know. But if they phone me
Yeah.
up like and ask me to work the weekend, I tell them to get lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Get lost.
that's probably what they do. Like, oh, you go work weekend, or you're getting out.
Oh, they did. They tried it. They tried it a week ago.
Yeah,
I didn't get nothing, and then she phoned me up. Can you work Friday? No, if I can't work bloody during the week, I can't work weekend. Sorry. So I don't care anyway. Really.
yeah.
Yeah. So Nita's going to bed.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Hey,
Yeah.
darling. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might as well wrap it up. Then.
Wiggy's still not
Oh.
there.
No, you might as well wrap up.
Yeah, call it a day then, mate.
So
Yeah.
good night to everybody who's out there
Yeah.
who's watching.
Well,
Night.
night, everybody. Hopefully next week.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
See you then, Nita. See you
See
then,
you
No,
later,
Andy.
mate. See you later.
Night,
Night,
night.
night, all.
Take it easy. Night.
And night to the guys in the side there.